Hello, everyone. It is the NFL Week 8 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. The road to 272 bets marches on. And I got to be real with you. I'm down bad after what just happened in Week 7. If you've been following along, obviously a very hot week last week. Great week last week. 10-4 last week. This week started off 7-2 is where we were sitting at through the early afternoon games on Sunday. I'm thinking, hey, all I need is one more win in the final 6 games. We get a profit. Anything after that is a cherry on top, icing on the cake. How much can I win this week? I'm starting to think, I could go 13-2 right now. I could go at worst. I mean, I'm looking at potentially going 10-5, another 10-win week. We're gonna play the victory song on Monday night, and then what happens? The very definition of gambler giveth, gambler taketh away. 0-3 late afternoon games. Raiders, money line, loss. Should have just taken spread. Panthers, why did I bet the Panthers? Loss. 49ers, their entire team got hurt. Lost. I'm thinking, all right, heading into Sunday Night Football, I need one win on Sunday Night Football or one of the 2 Monday Night Football games to at least be profitable. Let's get a win and move on to Week 8. Jets, -1. They suck. Loss. Heading into Monday Night Football, I got to win one of these 2 games, and I'll walk away with a profit for this week. Buccaneers, +3.5. Loss. Gave up 1 million points. Chargers. All they had to do was score a touchdown in the last drive. They would have had a good chance to cover. Could not settle for a field goal. Cardinals came back. Wouldn't have mattered anyways. Chargers, -2.5. Loss. I lost 6 straight bets to close out Week 7. I went from 7-2, where I only needed one more win to finish profitable, to 7-8. 7-8 for a loss of 1.62 units. Whew. Gambler giveth, gambler taketh away. This is the journey. This is what happens when you bet on all 272 NFL regular season games. This is not for the faint of heart. This is, we got ups, we got downs. Usually the ups and downs go week by week. This is a mid-Sunday. We are at our highest of highs, only by Monday night to be at our lowest of lows. All I can do, all I have been doing, this is my 5th year doing it now. I've kind of gotten used to heartbreak. This is a first for this, losing 6 straight games to close out a week. All I can do is look at the big picture. And the big picture is we are still profitable this season. It would have been nice to build on that profit a little bit this week, but we still sit 56 wins, 50 losses, 1 push for plus 2.86 units on the season. So we are still in the green. And at the end of the day, that always is my goal each season is to be in the green, to be in the profit. 6 straight sucks. And to be honest, none of those were even really close. Maybe the Chargers were close. The rest weren't even close. 7-8, 7-8. It doesn't really matter at what point in the week you get the 7 wins. It doesn't matter at what point of the week you get the 8 losses. 7-8, 7 is 7-8. All we can do is move on to Week 8. At the very least, to brighten my mood, I'm wearing my spooky sweater. If you're watching on YouTube here, shout out R.L. Stine, Goosebumps books, big part of my childhood. I mean, how sick is this shirt though? Shout out Goosebumps, man. Shout out Goosebumps. Something I can lean on in these trying times. I had a Goosebumps board game that I really enjoyed. One Night at Horrorland. That was a fun one. Anyone else my age, I'm guessing you read at least a couple Goosebump books. I really like the Choose Your Own Adventure ones. Those were fun. Let's bring Goosebumps back, man. Another update. I am now less than 2 weeks away from running the New York Marathon. I think I talked about it before week 1. I've kind of stopped talking about it. It has been truly a hellish experience. I don't recommend anyone to sign up for a marathon ever. I don't know why marathons exist. I don't know why so many people run them. I started running almost 2 years ago now. I did it as a way to kind of get back in shape. My long-term goal when I started running was to run this marathon this year. I'm now, less than 2 weeks out. It's 2 weeks from this past Sunday, away from doing that. When I started running, could barely run, 3 kilometers. I was 250 pounds. I was a fat fuck. Still am kind of fat, but I've lost 30 pounds since then. I've run all the distances. I've run 5Ks, 10Ks, 10 miles, half marathons, and now the granddaddy of them all, the New York City Marathon, less than 2 weeks away. My actual training program for this marathon started July 1st. It's been an 18-week training program. I've hardly drank throughout these 18 weeks. I've had a beer here and there, but I was at a wedding this past 2 weekends ago. I had a couple drinks there, but for the most part, I haven't drank throughout these 18 weeks. I've been running 5 days a week. The last 6-7 weeks I've been running, more than a half marathon a weekend. It's been, running is not fun. It's boring. It's painful. I'm sore. And now I get to try to run 42.2 kilometers. Or for you Americans, that is 26.1 miles. At the New York City Marathon. So if you live in New York, if you're going to go spectate the New York Marathon, keep an eye out for me. I'll be one of the slower ones. My goal at the marathon is to finish better than average. I think is a good goal. For someone who was 250 pounds 2 years ago, who could, barely run a couple of kilometers without feeling like death, I think finishing better than average is a good goal. Last year, the average finishing time of the New York Marathon was 4 hours, 39 minutes. So my goal is to basically beat that. If the average is the same, then I got to beat 4:39. I think I can do that. Based on my test runs, my training runs, if everything goes well, I think I'll be able to beat that. If things go poorly on race day, there is certainly a chance I don't beat that. So it's going to be interesting. And then I'm going to go on a binge for the rest of November and December. So I have my non-alcoholic Guinness, which I've been drinking a lot these past 18 weeks. Basically, I'm telling you this to let you know that I'm down bad. Between what happened with my football bets this week, between the fact that I'm 16 and a half weeks now into an 18-week training program. I've hardly drank. I've been sober. I've been running more than I ever could have even imagined running. I'm just it's tough. Woo! I feel like I'm losing my mind, but I got my goosebump sweater on. It is spooky season. I can't even celebrate Halloween, really. It's 3 days. The marathon's 3 days after Halloween. I want to go out and get drunk and get spooky on the streets of New York. I can't even do it because I got to go to sleep early. So I'm well rested to go run 42.2 kilometers. Stupid. Nobody should ever run a marathon. The whole idea of a marathon is dumb. Your body starts shutting down. Literally the whole marathon, if you guys aren't long distance runners, and I assume most of you aren't, marathons aren't even about like being in cardiovascular shape. That's like the first step, but really the challenge of a marathon is trying to get your body to not completely shut down. That's really what a marathon is, because your body's not meant to run 42.2 kilometers. So literally the entire second half of the race is like trying to figure out how to not make your body shut down, because your body wants to go like, why are you doing this? You must be dying. I'm now going to shut everything off. So that's fun. That's my life. Let's get into it. Let's get into week 8. We're approaching the halfway part of the season. 2 more weeks. I guess 18 weeks now, so I guess after week 9. So 2 more weeks, we'll be halfway through. Listen, as heartbreaking as it is to, like I said, finish 6 straight losses to close out a week, at the end of the day, it's 7-8. I mean, I could have gone 6-9. I could have gone 5-10. There's certainly a lot worse weeks than 7-8, and we are still profitable on the season. So let's get back to our winning ways here. I also had a losing week on prop bets too. 4-6 on prop bets. Ugh. Not every week is going to be victories on Monday. So let's get back into it. I do have a bet locked in for all 16 games this week. No bye weeks, so we got 16 games to watch and bet on. Let's dive into it. It is the NFL Week 8 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast, the road to 272 bets, marches on.
I'm not a state. I'm a monster.
No, Lisa. The only monster here is the gambling monster that has enslaved your mother. I call him Gambler, and it's time to snatch your mother from his neon claws.
All right, let's get into it. Let's put week 7 behind us. Let's jump into week 8. It is Thursday night football between the Vikings and the Rams. I got to tell you, in terms of the spread, a little confused why the Vikings are only a 3-point favorite. So I was going to bet on the Vikings, but there's actually a bet on the total I like quite a bit more. Really quick, and I should have done this in the intro. I was too busy talking about other things and what happened with my week. I did go 3-2 with best bets. Bengals won, Seahawks won, Raiders won, both Monday Night Football bets lost. And the teaser hit as well. Lions +8, Raiders +11.5. So, in terms of best bets and teasers, if you just fast forward to the end of the show and get those, you had a good week. Vikings, Rams, a total bet that I like this week is on Thursday Night Football. It is the under 48 between the Vikings and the Rams. I am a little confused why this is a high total in this game, considering usually high totals, relatively high 40s, are reserved for games that involve two kind of high-powered offenses and two bad defenses, or at least high 40s, like, two average defenses and two above-average offenses at the very least. But we're talking about a game that involves one of the more elite defenses in the NFL in the Vikings. I know the Vikings did not play well against the Lions, but that's the Lions. I can forgive that going up against one of the better offenses in the NFL. Vikings, even despite that poor performance last week against Detroit, the Vikings still rank 6th in opponent yards per play, giving up 5.1 yards per snap, first in opponent EPA per play, second in opponent success rate. They also lead the league in pressure rate, pressuring the opposing quarterbacks on 30.7% of dropbacks, and that is bad news for a Rams team that allows the 4th highest pressure rate at 26.4. Now, the Rams are getting back Cooper Kupp this week on Thursday Night Football, it does look like. I don't know about the rest of their guys. I don't know about their offensive linemen. I know Puka Nakua's not back yet. Not sure about some guys on defense. But still, just based on the Vikings defense alone, even actually for that matter, the Vikings alone as well, because if you actually look at the Vikings offensive numbers, they have made big plays and big moments of games. But I do think we are going to see some regression from the Vikings offense because overall, their numbers don't really jump off the page. 10th in yards per play this season. EPA, they're 16th in the NFL. Success rate, they're 13th in the NFL. So, they're an average to above average offense. So I do think we're going to see a little bit of regression because, if you look at points per game, they're 6th in points per game, getting 28 per contest. That doesn't line up with the advanced numbers and even yards per play, even some of the more simple numbers. So, a Vikings offense, I think that's going to regress. An elite defense that has proven to be elite. I don't know why this total is all the way up at 48, especially for a Thursday night football game. So I will take the under between the Vikings and the Rams on Thursday night. Moving on to Sunday's games, no international game this week. So no morning game on Sunday morning. So dive right into the 1 p.m. Eastern start games. I'll start with the Eagles against the Bengals. I will take the 3 points with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I will say most places, at least as of Monday night, had Eagles +2.5. One book, at least one regulated book in New York, had Eagles +3. It was DraftKings. They have them at +3 -118. So that still might be available if you're listening to this early Tuesday morning, if you want to make sure you get that field goal worth of points. I think it's certainly worth it in this game, but I do think the Eagles are going to be able to run the ball all over the Bengals defense. We've already seen them this year be in games where if they can win solely running the ball, they're going to do that. We just saw it last week against the Giants. They ran the ball 69.23% of plays and won the game 28-3, which is a final score that cringes for me to say. But they did win 28-3, running the ball 70% of the time. I think we might actually see a similar result this week because the Bengals rank 30th in opponent rush EPA, dead last in opponent rush success rate. Eagles rank 4th and 10th in the offensive version of those two stats. They're also averaging 5 yards per carry. So the Eagles might just be able to run the ball all game, and that could be enough. The other thing I want to say about Philadelphia, their defense got off to a rough start to the year, no denying that. But we've seen some positives now from that Eagles defense. I mean, yes, the Giants are missing Andrew Thomas. They still kept the Giants to 3 points. That's super impressive. And over their last 3 games, the Eagles are allowing just 4.4 yards per snap. That leads the NFL in every team's last 3 games in opponent yards per play. So they seem to be fixing something on defense. Throwing the ball, they're not always the most effective, but I mean, they weren't healthy at receiver there for a chunk of the season. I think it's time to kind of buy some stock in Philadelphia. I really do think so. So I will take the field goal worth of points with the Eagles playing in Cincinnati. The Cardinals against the Dolphins. Cardinals coming off a short week after playing on Monday Night Football. I don't think it's confirmed yet. I think Tua still needs to clear concussion protocol, but based on the line and based on, I hope for my bet's sake that it's true that he does pass concussion protocol, because the Dolphins are 3-point favorites, and I am going to back the Dolphins as 3-point favorites against the Arizona Cardinals here. I mean, listen, we know the Dolphins still have the weapons. They still got Tyreek Hill. They still have Jalen Waddle. They still have Davon A-Chain. Jalen Wright has been exciting when he's gotten in. Raheem Mostert is healthy now. They have just had truly horrific quarterback play. So as long as Tua can at least play somewhat as good as he was in the past when he was healthy, they're going to be able to do some damage because the Cardinals secondary absolutely sucks. I don't have updated numbers as of tonight. Their numbers probably got a little bit better because how many yards did Justin Herbert throw? They just couldn't score a touchdown. I mean, Herbert threw for 349 yards, by far as most of the season. That's crazy. That he threw for 349 yards and they couldn't score a touchdown, just field goals. Damn, I deserve to win that bet. Yards per play, just 6.2 to 5.9. Yeah, the Dolphins are going to be able to throw the ball. If Tua's throwing the ball, they have the weapons to torch this Cardinals defense. And also, one thing that actually not a lot of people are talking about Miami, because everyone's talking about how bad their offense is, the Dolphins have sneakily played extremely good defensive football this season. 7th in opponent EPA per play, 6th in opponent success rate, 7th in opponent yards per play. They have been a top 10, top 8 defense through the first 7 weeks. I haven't heard anyone talk about that. But, I mean, they've been kind of in these games. Even if you look at opponent points per game, I mean, they got to be up there. 21.5, that's kind of surprising. Let me see the Dolphins' recent games here. Because, I mean, only gave up 16 to the Colts, only gave up 10 to the Patriots the week before that. Titans somehow scored 31. Okay, so yeah, early in the season, yeah. But the last 2 games, pretty good. Regardless, still advanced numbers and opponent points per play. Top 10, top 8 team has been the Dolphins' defense. Much better than the Cardinals' defense. I will lay the 3 points and hope the Tua plays and hope the Tua can get the ball in the hands of their weapons, for goodness sakes. Moving on to the Jets and the Patriots. I will now invest in the Jets, even though I bet on them last week to no avail. I want to say something about the New York Jets, because let me actually get the pick off the screen here, because I'm going to trash them for a second, and then I'm going to bet them. In the summer, I made a video and I wrote an article saying the Jets are the most fraudulent team in the NFL this season. The reason why I wrote that article and made the video was that because, in my opinion, there was no way they were going to live up to the expectations. People thought the Jets were going to be, they were the betting favorites by the time the offseason ended to win the division. People thought they were a shoo-in to win, to make the playoffs. A lot of people thought they were a dark horse contender to win the Super Bowl. And my prediction, you can go back and watch the video I made. I retweeted it after Monday night. My prediction about the Jets has been extremely accurate. Once again, I am the king of pointing out fraudulent teams. Speaking of which, I don't even have a fraudulent team at this point of the year, which shows that I don't actually just pull these out of my ass. I don't say them just to say them. But in the offseason, I felt the Jets were fraudulent. Aaron Rodgers was coming off an Achilles injury. He's 40 years old. The last season he played, he was not good in Green Bay. People thought he was all of a sudden going to get back to his MVP self. He's been worse than Zach Wilson. And now they're what, 2-5? People who are tweeting at me and sending me DMs, if you have any self-respect, tweet back at me and say that I was right all along, because I was. With that being said, I'm laying a touchdown worth of points on them in week 8. With that being said, I'm going to lay a touchdown worth of points. Listen, even though I successfully called the Jets frauds ending in the season, I'm still going to bet on them in certain spots when I do think there's value. It's because it's not an emotional thing. I didn't say that because I hate the Jets. And I think they're a terrible matchup for the Patriots. We've already seen them play once. The Jets won 24-3. They outgained them 5.7 yards per play to 2.9 yards per play. The Patriots secondary has been horrific this season, 29th in opponent EPA per dropback. They can't pressure the quarterback either. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is going to have a good game, he's going to have a good game against a team that can't pressure him and a team that doesn't have a good secondary. And then what kind of, offense can move the ball against the Jets defense? An offense that can run the ball. What can the Patriots not do? Run the ball. If you were to come up with a dream team for the Jets to have success against, it is the makeup of this New England Patriots team. So I will lay the touchdown with the Jets on the road in New England. I regret betting on them on Sunday night, though. All right, let's talk Falcons, Buccaneers. As always, with me being a Falcons fan, I got to rant about the Falcons here for a moment. Bad game. I mean, I bet on the Seahawks. I've been on the right side of betting Falcons games in every week except for week 1. Every team in the NFL has a couple of stinker games, F-grade games every single season. This was it for the Falcons. Because it wasn't just mistakes in a couple of key areas, it was bad all over. It was penalties. Just bringing it up right now. Team stats, here we go. Penalties, 9 penalties for 72 yards. Can't have that. Turnovers, a -3 turnover differential. Can't have that. Couldn't pressure the quarterback. Actually, I saw some stats today that they were pressuring Geno Smith. Watching the game, it didn't look like they were getting pressure. We can't pressure the quarterback. This is the issue with the Atlanta Falcons, and is why it's not even the fact that we lost this game by 20 points, but I have now changed my expectations for what this team can do this season, because not only do we have a bad pass rush, our pass rush is non-existent. Just like it's very hard to survive and thrive as an offense with no offensive line, it is just as hard to play extremely good defensive football with no defensive line, no pass rush. Because you can guard players all you want in the secondary. You can't guard them forever. Eventually, someone's going to break free. So if the quarterback has 8 seconds to throw, it doesn't matter that you have Jesse Bates at safety. It doesn't matter that you have Justin Simmons. You certainly need A.J. Terrell to play better than he did in this game. Someone's going to get open. So I don't know what the answer for this is for Atlanta. I don't know if they need to blitz more. Matthew Judon's been a bum. That was a waste of a 3rd-round pick. I don't know if you're going to make a different trade for a different pass rusher, maybe Myles Garrett. Max Crosby in an ideal world, but I don't think the Raiders are going to get rid of him. Because the only way we can win games is going to be by winning shootouts. We are not going to win a game scoring 14 points on offense. We are not going to win a game turning the ball over 3 times on offense. Now, if we can score 38 points like we did against the Panthers, 36 points like we did against the Buccaneers, even 26 points like we did against the Saints, the Falcons can win games. They actually kind of remind me of the makeup of the Bengals a few years ago when they went to the Super Bowl against the Rams. Now, Kirk Cousins is no Joe Burrow, but that Bengals team was very flawed, even though a lot of people disagree with me when I say that. But that Bengals team was very flawed, especially defensively. But they got hot at the right time, and they ran into a couple favorable matchups in the playoffs. I know the Titans were the most fraudulent 1 seed I'd ever seen. They played them in the 2nd round. Played very well, played the best game of their season against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. If the Falcons do make a run at the Super Bowl, that's what's going to happen, is they're going to have to get hot at the right time. Because this team is not winning games, especially against playoff teams, unless they play at least a B-plus game. Teams like the Chiefs can win games. They're good enough they can win games with a D-plus performance. They can win games with a C-minus performance. The Falcons can't do that. The Falcons get their ass kicked if they play a C-. They lose if they play a B-rated game. They're going to play at worst a B-plus game to win. So for a few weeks there, I thought they were going to be an NFC contender. I thought maybe a deep playoff run was in the books. Just make the playoffs. That's my expectation for the Falcons this season. Just make the playoffs. Make the playoffs. You probably lose. We have an offseason to fix the defense, especially the defensive line, especially the pass rush. We just don't have the pieces this year. With that all being said, my plan was to bet on the Buccaneers this week. Because this matchup terrifies me. But then both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin got hurt. Watching Chris Godwin got hurt, I felt like Drake when he was reacting to Kevin Durant tearing his Achilles in the NBA Finals against the Raptors. Come on. Listen, I'm not going to cheer for it. I do like Chris Godwin a lot. He's on a lot of my fantasy teams too, but that has now, listen, a division rival, the NFC South has come down to the Bucs and Falcons. I'm not cheering for Chris Godwin getting hurt. I actually if I could choose if he got hurt or not, I don't want to see him get hurt. I like Chris Godwin a lot. But when you see that injury and the injury to Mike Evans as a Falcons fan, you can't help but think, did we just win the NFC South by way of injury? By way of being the last team standing, kind of. Because the Saints are banged up too, and now they're out of it. And now the line has shifted. The Buccaneers were 2-point favorites, I think, heading into Monday Night Football. The line shifted. I saw it open at -2 Falcons at DraftKings. This was the first book that released it after the Monday Night Football game. I jumped on it right away because I figured the line was going to move, and I think it has. Falcons now. So I got Falcons -2, -110 at DraftKings. That's a verified at bet stamp. I did get that bet in. They are now -2.5, -118. So I got a good line. Now, if it's announced, I haven't seen anything. But Chris Godwin's obviously done for the year. I haven't seen exactly what's going on with Mike Evans, something to do with his hamstring. If he ends up playing, the line's going to shift closer to a pick 'em. But I think I got a pretty good line jumping on it as soon as it was released at -2, -110. Listen, if you're listening to this, you're probably not going to get a -2 anymore. My rules are already restricting. I'm already restricting myself as much as I can with my rules where I have to place the bets on Monday night. Now, the bet was available after Monday Night Football on Monday night. Did I know the line was going to move? Yes. But I'm following the rule that I have to bet on Monday Night Football or after Monday Night Football for the teams playing in those games. I took Falcons -2. If you're listening to this now during the week, if the Falcons are still -2.5, I still like it. Once you get to 3, I'm a little bit concerned. I'd probably take it at 3. If you get to 3.5, I'd probably take the under. The total is 47.5. How are the Buccaneers going to score? Throw to my cousin, Iain MacMillan? Cade Otton? Going to catch every ball? They could just run the ball, actually. The Buccaneers have actually turned into a sneakily pretty good running team. But with the fact I could get the Falcons at -2, I think that's the play here. Listen, much healthier. I am going to dismiss last week's game in a sense. I'm going to assume they're not going to keep getting 9 penalties for 70-something yards, -3 turnover differential. That's not going to happen every game. They do have, obviously, a more healthy offense, a more complete offense, and the Buccaneers' defense is not good. I've said this before. It was proven tonight against the Ravens. Their defense stinks. Falcons -2, anything under 3. Even at 3, I would still take Atlanta because I don't know what the Buccaneers are going to do without Evans and Godwin. Though having 2 elite receivers makes it so hard to game plan against, and now they have none. Like, this offense, I think, might look like a complete shell of itself in Week 8. So I have no choice but to take the Falcons. And hey, credit to me, I was going to take the Bucs, but not if they don't have Godwin or Evans. All right, Titans and Lions. There are some, I don't know why, there are some bad teams this season that I'm addicted to betting on. One of them is the Titans, and I'm taking them again, baby. Titans +11.5, -115 against the Lions. You can take what I said last week when I bet the Titans against the Bills and just replay that because it's the same reason. Now, did they cover? No. They were winning at halftime. Second half, they got steamrolled. But it's a belief. It's a fundamental belief when I have betting on the NFL, and I got to stick to that strategy. It's not a strategy that's going to work every single time, but it is a belief that I have. That if we're talking, I mean, last week I was just talking about being a favorite of more than a touchdown. Now we're talking double digits. To lay double digits on a team in the National Football League, that team better be significantly better on both sides of the football and maybe even special teams. That's not what we have here. The Titans are an elite defense. They are far superior defensively than the Detroit Lions are. Second in the NFL in opponent yards per play, 12th in opponent EPA per play, first in opponent success rate. No team with this good of a defense should be an 11.5 point favorite. Now, the Lions are very, 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 very good. Very good offensively. They torched the Vikings defense last week, but it's a different week. And the Titans offense sucks. I get it. I truly, truly, truly do. But the Lions defense isn't good enough to justify this spread. The Titans defense is too good to justify this spread. I will take Tennessee plus 11.5 at minus 115. Packers against the Jaguars, and I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers minus 4.5 at minus 105 in what is one of the more surprising lines of the week to me. This might just be my best bet, or is this a trap bet? I don't know. I don't believe in trap bets, so I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay ranks 7th in the NFL in yards per pass attempt, 7.9 yards per throw. Now they face a Jacksonville team that is 30th in opponent yards per pass attempt, giving up 7.6, 27th in opponent dropback success rate, and dead last in opponent dropback EPA. We have, by some metrics, by EPA, the worst pass defense in the NFL going up against a very potent Packers pass attack on offense. Overall, the Packers are, by the way, now 3rd in the NFL in net yards per play. Only the Ravens and the 49ers are better in net yards per play at this point of the year than the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers still, I know they didn't cover last week against the Texans, but they still, I don't think the market's evaluating them correctly. Or maybe how I should rephrase that is I'm evaluating the Packers on a weekly basis higher than the market is. Now, am I wrong? Very possible. But I got to kind of stick to my evaluations. I think Green Bay should be a much bigger, like I have the Packers at almost like 5.5 point favorites in this game, but they're 4.5. A whole point in value. I'll take the Green Bay Packers minus 4.5. Colts and then the Colts against the Texans. This one's a no-brainer because Anthony Richardson is starting. Texans minus 6, minus 108. There is a stat for quarterbacks that I've talked about before. Actually, you know what? Let me share my screen if I can get this to work. Yeah, here we go. If you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're not, go ahead and subscribe to the Bacon Bets podcast on YouTube and check this out, because this is the graph that I've talked about before that is available at rbsdm.com, one of my favorite stat websites. It's especially for advanced analytics. This is the graph I've brought up before. It is quarterback efficiency. Maybe I've only brought up the team EPA graphs, but this is quarterback efficiency. The y-axis is EPA per play. The x-axis is completion percentage above expected, aka CPOE. So the best quarterbacks are in the top right. The worst quarterbacks are in the bottom left. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see that by himself, way far in the bottom left corner of this graphic, is Anthony Richardson. All by himself. I'm showing you this to show that the Anthony Richardson has been, when he's played this season, the worst quarterback in the NFL. And it's not even really particularly close. So if we go back, you can see the list here of EPA plus CPOE composite. It's very funny. So EPA plus CPOE is EPA per play plus the completion percentage above expected. You can see it's funny. Joe Flacco is actually 3rd in the NFL behind only Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. Actually, I had it sorted by just EPA per play. Joe Flacco was 4th in the EPA plus CPOE, and this is amongst quarterbacks who have played at least 112 snaps. It is Anthony Richardson dead last. And not only is he dead last, he's the only quarterback in the NFL this season who has a negative EPA plus CPOE composite. That is worse than Bo Nix. That is worse than Jacoby Brissett. That's worse than Deshaun Watson. That's worse than Gardner Minshew. That's worse than Andy Dalton. Anthony Richardson, maybe he'll develop into a much better quarterback, but he stinks right now. And for that reason alone, I cannot bet on the Indianapolis Colts getting 6 points against the Houston Texans. I will lay the points with the Texans in this one. Texans offense and I talked about this last week. I'm still not sold on their offense. Their offensive numbers are not as good as they should be. Worse than last year. The Texans defense has actually been underrated this year. Inside the top 10 in opponent yards per pass attempt, opponent EPA per play, and opponent success rate. That should say opponent yards per play. Got to fix that. Top 10 in opponent yards per play and opponent EPA per play and opponent success rate. I think Houston kind of wins this game handedly. So I'll take the Texans -6 against the Indianapolis Colts. All right, that's 8 games down, 8 to go. Going to take a quick break, and then I'll be back in a moment to break down the second half of the game, second half of my picks for the games, for the final 8 games. It's late. And then my best bets and best teaser for the week. Be right back. All right, we are back. We're going to start with the Ravens against the Browns. And I said, at least last week, and I've said it a couple times this season, but I think I went back on it, that I will not bet on the Cleveland Browns until Deshaun Watson is not their starting quarterback, and he is no longer their starting quarterback. By the way, kind of a tricky situation last week because booing a player when he gets hurt, especially tearing his Achilles, is a bad look. But if there's one exception, I think it can be Deshaun Watson. If I was there, I don't think I would boo, but I don't fault Browns fans for booing him. The guy had, 23 sexual assault allegations? That's not one. That's 23. Not good. Terrible human being. Myles Garrett, for some reason, saying he's a model. Deshaun Watson's a model citizen, which is crazy. Model citizens don't get 23 sexual assault allegations. So fuck Deshaun Watson. He sucks as a quarterback. He sucks as a human being. I hope he never plays another snap in the NFL. He's got his money. He's got, $200 million? Well, I'm going to feel bad for him. He can go fuck off for all I care. With that being said, he's no longer the starting quarterback, so now I will bet on the Cleveland Browns because 11.5 points is wild. Now, the reason I hesitated about this bet was I couldn't find Stefanski announcing who was starting. I don't know how serious. Let me actually look at this. Because if it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I wish I didn't make this bet. Still, Kevin Stefanski still gathering info on Dorian Thompson-Robinson finger injury. I mean, you got to go Jameis Winston, right? Thompson-Robinson stunk. 11 for 24, 82 yards, 2 interceptions. And then Jameis got in and threw the ball. If Thompson Robinson isn't available, then Winston would be set to start. Are you telling me they would start DTR again? Or not again, but they'd start him over... Why? I hope it's... If it's Dorian Thompson-Robinson... If you're listening to this later in the week and Dorian Thompson-Robinson is announced as the Browns starting quarterback, do not take the Browns, take the Ravens. If Jameis Winston is starting, I love the Browns getting 11.5. Ravens, very dominant offensively. Same reason I bet the Bucs last week, even though it didn't work out. The Ravens defense has some issues, and it's going to haunt them at some point this season because you can't rely on your offense scoring 40 points a game. Ravens defense is bad. Their secondary is especially bad. Their run defense wasn't good this week against the Buccaneers either. Let me see how many yards per play the Buccaneers got. 6.2. Not as bad as I thought. That's still pretty bad. Yards per pass attempt. 7.4 yards per pass attempt. Yeah, that about lines up their season average. If Jameis Winston starts and can get something going through the air, they can cover this 11.5 point spread. The Ravens, this is what's going to happen. And I don't know if it's going to be this week. There's going to be a game that the Ravens offense just looks a little bit out of sync. And they're going to lose that game they're going to lose in a big upset. Because their offense is going to be a little bit out of sync and their defense is going to give up 24 points, and that's going to be the game. I don't think it's going to be this week. It'd be wild. You know who I wouldn't be surprised it is? They play the Broncos next week. If there's a team an offense can look out of sync against, it's the Denver Broncos defense. And who knows, man? I don't know. Ravens, very, very, very good team. I don't want to say they're not. Their offense is the best offense in the NFL, and it's not even close. Their defense is going to cost them some wins this year. Don't think they lose this game, but I will take the 11.5 points with the Cleveland Browns. Moving on to the Bills and Seahawks. If there is one, if I had a mulligan every week, it'd be this one. I don't really know what to do with this game. But I will lay the 3 points with the Bills. I've bet against the Bills a lot this season. I'm sick of betting against the Bills. It's not fun to bet against the Bills. It's much funner to bet on them. And I do think the addition of Amari Cooper is going to make a significant difference for this offense moving forward. They were very, one-dimensional with the run game to start the year. We were waiting for a receiver to really establish himself as a number one guy who Josh Allen could rely on. Nobody did. Now they have a number one guy. Now they have a number one guy who's, has, a game plus, over a week with this team to kind of get used to playing in the system, used to playing with Josh Allen. So I think the Bills offense is really going to start clicking. And when you look at the run defense for these two teams, 29th and 30th in opponent yards per carry. So neither of these defenses can stop the run, but the Bills are much more fit to actually take advantage of that. So not a confident play for me, certainly not one of my best bets, but I will take the Bills -3, -105 in Seattle. Saints and the Chargers, I will take the Chargers -7.5. This is the exact same game we saw last week when the Saints played the Broncos. It is an extremely banged up Saints team. I don't know if Chris Olave is back, but it's going to be Spencer Rattler, the other guy from Fresno State or wherever he's from. Jake Horner or whatever. So an extremely banged up offense playing against an extremely good defense that the Chargers have. Because the Chargers, you want to talk about a good defense. I think they lead the NFL in opponent points per game. 13.8 heading into Monday night. They let the Cardinals score 16. So, yeah, probably still going to be the best scoring defense in the NFL. Another tough test for a rookie quarterback and with no offensive weapons. And the Saints defense stinks. So Saints might be a bottom 5 team in the NFL right now. Saints are dead last in opponent yards per play, giving up 6.1 yards per snap. I will lay the 7.5 points with Los Angeles. They got to score touchdowns. They're not going to cover 7.5 if they don't find the end zone. They should have scored at least a few touchdowns against the Cardinals, and they scored 18 field goals instead, and then lost by 2 points. They better fix that. Chargers -7.5, -110. Panthers and Broncos, another under bet for me because I don't know why this total is in the 40s. We have an elite defense, in my opinion, probably the best defense in the NFL this season in the Broncos, taking on a Panthers team that sucks overall. So you have two bad offenses. Broncos offense isn't good. Panthers offense isn't good. And then you have an elite defense on one side. Why is this total in the 40s? I do not know. Not only 40s, mid-40s. 43.5 qualifies as mid-40s in my opinion. Broncos defense leads the NFL in opponent yards per play. 0.4 fewer yards per play in the next best defense. They're also second in opponent EPA per play, fourth in opponent success rate. They also have the third highest pressure rate, pressuring opposing quarterbacks on 28.66% of their dropbacks. The Panthers only score 15.7 points per game. Now they have to play against who I think is the best defense in the NFL. Where are these points going to come from? If you're getting 15.7 points per game against, the average of the defenses you're playing against, now you're playing the best defense. You're not going to score 15. They might score 10. So then the Broncos would have to score 35 for this to go over. I don't see it. I'm shocked that this total is as low as it is. Broncos offense. So the Broncos offense is scoring 20.7 points per game. Panthers offense is scoring 15.7. So just the offenses alone are scoring a combined 35.7 points per game, but yet the total is 43.5. I will take the under between the Panthers and the Broncos. This bet is already lost. I'll tell you what. I talked at the start of the show about about week 7 and how I lost 6 games in a row. And the late afternoon games kicked off before even anything happened. I don't know what it was. I was like, these bets sucked. I'm going to lose all 3. Raiders covered, to be fair. Money line didn't hit. And the other 2 weren't even close. It was a very strong gut feeling. I was like, I'm on the wrong side of all 3 of these games. And now I will bet on the Raiders again. And the Raiders and the Titans, 2 bad teams that I refuse to stop betting on. Raiders plus 10 against the Chiefs. This is also a little bit of this is hater, Ian. I hate the fucking Chiefs. I hate them. They continue to find ways to win games, and this year now they're continuing to find ways to cover. It's bad calls, it's penalties, it's phantom calls that weren't actually penalties, it's a player's toe on out the end of the end zone, and then last week you played a team that just, literally imploded, a team that, like, their best players just fell apart physically and got hurt. Debo has pneumonia, which is scary. He's in the hospital for that. Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL. He's out. And then the Chiefs kind of waltzed to victory, even though, once again, not playing good. Once again, getting outgained by their opponents. I said earlier I don't have a fraudulent team for this year, and I haven't written my fraudulent power rankings. It's getting to the point, and I've brought this up a couple times already. If the Chiefs keep winning games, I'm going to have to write the article and make the Chiefs the most fraudulent team in the NFL, which is not going to go over well. But they're 6-0 now. They're 14th in the NFL in net yards per play. Most metrics have them average. Now, advanced numbers do like them a little bit better. I know EPA per play, they're 9th. Success rate, they're actually first in the NFL in success rate. Wow. That kind of makes sense. Defensively, they're 8th in opponent EPA per play, 18th in opponent success rate. Outside of that one, first in success rate offensively, this team is not as good as their record indicates. Patrick Mahomes was the MVP favorite heading into Monday Night Football. I now think it is Lamar after his Monday night performance, but Mahomes is not having a good year. Mahomes is middle of the pack in just about every single offensive stat. So with all of that in mind, I do think regression is coming for Kansas City. Either they start playing better or some regression will come. Now, I still think they win this game, but once again, we were talking about a double-digit spread. And I am now realizing all 3 double-digit spreads I'm taking the underdog in this week. I'm sure this is not going to go well. I don't even think you guys should bet this. I think you guys should lay the points of the Chiefs. I hate this bet already. I don't know what it is. I'm glad Gardner Minshew is starting because at least the ceiling, the best version of Gardner Minshew is a competent quarterback. Aiden O'Connell was not that. I do think the Raiders have had some bad luck this season, some poor decision making. I don't know what Antonio Pierce was doing, kicking a field goal down 8. That's weird. They also have the league worst average turnover margin, minus 1.9. If they get some better turnover luck, if they get some better coaching, maybe they can hang with the Kansas City Chiefs. It just comes down to this. The Chiefs haven't played well enough for me to lay double digits on them against basically anybody. I'd probably lay double digits on them against the Patriots and the Panthers, and that might just be it. I'll take the points of the Raiders. It sucks, but I'll do it. Remember when the Raiders beat the Ravens? That was wild. That's gonna be the game that we all look back and we're like, well, that was. I feel like in every season there's a big upset that happens one of the first 2 weeks that later on in the season makes no sense. I remember the Jaguars. Was it the Jaguars beat a solid Colts team in like week 1 or something a few years ago and then didn't win another game the rest of the season? Or was the other way around? The Colts won and then didn't win another game the rest of the season? We're going to look back at the Raiders-Ravens game as that. Bears against Commanders. This one is interesting because we don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play. Based on the line, he's not going to. So I took the Bears minus 2.5, minus 115. If Jaden Daniels plays, I will be sitting with a bad line on Sunday. But regardless what the line is, I like the Bears. The main reason is their defense. Not enough people are talking about how good the Chicago Bears defense is. Chicago Bears defense Third in the NFL in opponent yards per pass attempt, first in opponent dropback EPA, second in opponent dropback success rate. Their secondary has been very, very, very good. This will be by far the toughest challenge for Jaden Daniels this season if he does play. That is the advantage in the battle of these two rookie quarterbacks. The advantage in terms of which quarterback has the better defense, it is Caleb Williams and the Bears by a mile. Also, I'm sticking to my strategy with the Bears, which I explained at the start of the season and which has turned out to be true so far. I said at the start of the year, their offense is not going to be nearly as good as people said. There's going to be hiccups, too many new pieces, too many rookies, a new offensive coordinator, new system. They're going to be bad out of the gate, bet against the Bears early in the season, and then when they start to get rolling, then you can bet on them. And that's exactly what we've seen. Their last two games were by far their two best offensive games of the season, by far Caleb Williams' two best games of the season. And now they're coming off a bye week, and now he gets to face a pretty bad defense in Washington. So I will take the Bears -2.5, -115. And if you wait until Jaden Daniels is announced, and if he is in this game, you might even be able to get this as an underdog play. I think the Commanders on the look-ahead line were a slight favorite, so Jaden Daniels announced as a starter. This could go down to a pick 'em. It could even go up to Commanders, -1, -2. So you may want to hold off on betting on this game, but I can't because I follow the rules that I've laid out for myself. I will take Bears -2.5, -115. Sunday Night Football, Cowboys 49ers. Despite being completely banged up, I will take the 49ers in this game, -4.5 at home. It might be time we accept the Dallas Cowboys are not a good football team. Dak Prescott was second in MVP voting last year. He sucks this year. Not good. Their offense as a whole, not good. Let me actually just bring up that graphic again that I brought up earlier, the CPOE plus EPA graphic. Oh, no. There we go. Obviously, Anthony Richardson all the way down there. Dak Prescott right there. Not good. He is in the lower left quadrant. Ranking, he is 25th. Dak Prescott is in an EPA plus CPOE composite. That is one spot below Daniel Jones, two spots below Will Levis. And is this because is CeeDee Lamb kind of starting to get a little bit washed and he doesn't have a second option to go to? Is this because he's a little bit washed? I mean, is he going to bounce back? I don't know, but the Cowboys offense is 24th in EPA per play, 22nd success rate. Dak Prescott is having the worst season of his career. I just can't bet on the Dallas Cowboys right now. I get the 49ers is banged up. Still no Christian McCaffrey. Brandon Ayuk for the year. Who knows? I mean, let's just hope Deebo Samuel can stay healthy. He's fighting pneumonia. Not good. But even with all three of those guys out, I think they're going to be able to run the ball down the throat of this Dallas defense because the Cowboys cannot stop the run. They're dead last in the NFL in opponent rush EPA. And the 49ers still as a whole, 3-4, not good, but they are plus 1.1 net yards per play, second best net yards per play ranking in the league. I think they will recover. And I'm not counting the 49ers out. I am counting out the Cowboys. So I will take the 49ers -4.5 on Sunday Night Football. You may have noticed I have not given out an upset pick yet. It's because I'm saving it for Monday Night Football. I am going down with the ship of fading the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's not even another team that's close to the Steelers in terms of a team that I have lost money on betting throughout my career of the road to 272 bets. I would love to go back and see how much money I've lost betting against the Steelers, but I'm going to do it again, and I'm not even taking Giants spread. Give me the Giants money line to upset the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 240. I think the reason why I'm betting against the Steelers so much is because, was it 2020 when they were the last undefeated team, and I took the Commanders back then, they were either the football team or the Redskins, I don't remember, as huge underdogs, and I think it was on Thanksgiving too, to hand the Steelers their first loss, and everyone said I was crazy, and then they did it. I think I'm now I'm chasing that high of fading the Steelers again. It's so mind-boggling watching the Steelers. I know Steelers fans, and there's going to be a lot of NFL fans who don't agree with me when I say this, but they're not a good football team. It's as I'm saying it, I know it's a wrong take. It's factually incorrect, but there is no team that gets more timely turnovers when it's like a key moment in the game. The Steelers get a turnover every single time, or they block a field goal, or they block an extra point, or like the other game, there was like 4 times Russell Wilson just threw these moon balls, and like this Steelers receiver, I think a few times is George Pickens. I think another time might have been like Freiermuth or someone, just do these crazy like diving one-hand catches, and the DBs looking the other way. It's just like everything, and it's not throughout the game. It's like always in key moments. Things just go the Steelers' way. I think Mike Tomlin is the greatest football coach of all time, because there's no other explanation, because this has been going on throughout Mike Tomlin's entire career. He's never coached the Steelers to a losing record, and he's had some bad teams. But yet you still look at them 19th in the NFL in net yards per play. Let's look at some advanced numbers. EPA per play, where the Steelers rank 13th. Success rate, 20th. Let's look at some defensive numbers. Opponent EPA per play, actually pretty good, 5th. Very good. Opponent success rate, 14th. Opponent drop back success rate, 14th. Opponent drop back success rate, 19th. Opponent drop back EPA, 14th. Like, these aren't the numbers of a 5-2, 6-2 team or whatever they are now. Now, I'm taking the Giants solely out of spiting the Steelers, because I just don't think they're as good as the market is evaluating them. I don't think they're as good as their record. They're probably going to get 18 million sacks against the Giants, and I'm going to feel like an idiot. But this is just a spite Steelers bet. And I don't think, maybe I do. Maybe I have like just an inner hatred towards the Steelers that I don't recognize. Maybe I just hate this team. I don't know what it is. I don't think I hate the Steelers. It just like I don't know. I don't know. I look at the numbers, I watch them, they don't pass the eye test, they don't pass the metrics test, but then they still find ways to win every single game. It's beyond frustrating. So this is my final stand. If they beat the Giants, which they technically should, but this is kind of what the Steelers' MO has been, is they're in games. Mike Tomlin has that great cover rate, ATS rate as an underdog, but then when they're favorites, they choke. So, I mean, this seems like a game the Steelers are going to beat all the teams they're supposed to lose to and then lose to the teams they're supposed to beat. So it makes sense, doesn't it, to bet the Giants? Maybe a little bit. The Giants also aren't as bad as people think. They're not as bad as they looked last week. No Andrew Thomas kills them. That's not good. But Malik Neighbors is back. Daniel Jones is fine. I don't know. I also don't think Russell Wilson's good. I know Russell Wilson looked very good in the last 3 quarters in that game. Let's not let 3 quarters of a decent Russell Wilson, don't allow that to then now we forget Denver Broncos Russell Wilson. Which now I'm remembering this is a big reason why I placed this bet. 3 quarters of good Russell Wilson does not make me think, okay, now Russell Wilson's going to have a career resurgence. Russell Wilson's going to turn into a pumpkin at some point. And when he does, I'm going to be there to bet against him. I'll take the Giants plus 240. We're taking a shot. It's a big shot. It is. I do really hope that whether or not I have a profitable week does not come down to Monday. I hope I've already won, because it's a 16-game slate. So you got to go 9-7 to be profitable. I hope I have 9 wins by the time we head into Monday Night Football, or else this game's going to suck to watch. Yeah. Okay. Giants plus 240. All right, let's recap my picks. That's all of them. Starting with Thursday Night Football. Let me just go to BetStamp to make this a little bit easier. All right, we got Vikings, Rams under 48, minus 108. Eagles plus 3, minus 118 against the Bengals. Dolphins minus 3, minus 110 against the Cardinals. Jets minus 7 against the Patriots. Falcons minus 2 against the Bucks. Tennessee plus 11.5, minus 115 against the Lions. Packers minus 4.5, minus 105 against the Jaguars. Texans minus 6, minus 108 against the Colts. Browns plus 11.5 against the Ravens. Bills minus 3, minus 105 against the Seahawks. Chargers minus 7.5 against the Saints. Panthers, Broncos under 43.5. Raiders plus 10 against the Chiefs. Bears minus 2.5, minus 115 against the Commanders. 49ers minus 4.5 against the Cowboys, and then Giants plus 240 on the money line against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I did not write down my best bets. I don't know why I didn't. So I'm just going to have to go through and go with what my best bets are. My best bets are going to be, I really like the Eagles. The Eagles are going to be a best bet. Plus 3 against the Bengals. I also like the Packers minus 4.5 against the Jaguars. I like the Texans minus 6 against the Colts. I wish I knew if Jameis Winston was starting or not. I do not. I like the under 43.5 between the Panthers and Broncos. And I'm going to take the Titans plus 11.5 against the Lions. So, best bets for this week. Eagles to cover. Titans to cover. Packers to cover. Texans to cover. And the under between the Broncos and the Panthers. My teaser of the week. I didn't write down teaser of the week either. What am I doing? I'm unprepared. Teaser should be pretty straightforward, though. A lot of good teaser legs. This is the obvious one. Take the Jets down from -7 to -1 against the Patriots. We're getting off the key number of 7, crossing the key number of 3, and then we're taking the Texans down from -6 down to a pick 'em against the Colts. So we got Texans pick 'em against the Colts, Jets -1 against the Patriots. That seems like an absolute layup of a teaser. Let's see if I can find another leg here. I did a 3-leg teaser personally last week and it hit. So now I kind of like these 3-leggers. Do I go Chargers down to -1? No. Broncos down to -2 would be another good teaser, like -2 against the Panthers. How about that? Down from -8 down to -2. We're crossing both the key numbers of 7 and 3. So I'm doing a 3-legger this week. That's how confident I am. Jets, Texans, Broncos, 3-leg, 6-point teaser. That is plus 160 at DraftKings right now. There might be better odds somewhere else, but that's just the sportsbook I had pulled up. 6-point. We're doing a 3-leg, 6-point teaser this week. But that's everything. That has been the NFL Week 8 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. If you're still in your Survivor pool, congrats. If you want me to give Survivor thoughts, send me a DM. I mean, you have plenty of options this week. I mean, even though I'm betting on the Titans to cover, I mean, the Lions at home against the Titans is the obvious play. If you have the Lions, I would just do that. I don't really. Chargers at home to the Saints, if you have them, would be one of those two teams. All right, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Subscribe to the Bacon Bets podcast on YouTube. Rate and review the audio version of this podcast. I'll be back Thursday morning will be my player prop countdown. But I'll talk to you then. Gamble or bless. The road to 272 bets continues.